fumble on the road to atonement, and McAfee bangs him out of bounds.
Good evening, welcome to another episode of UK Colts Fans Podcast. It is Monday Night Football Talk. Today I'm going to talk about our new left tackle, seemingly, just to get my camera on, Eric Fisher. What a pickup that is. Xavier, who's not on tonight, unfortunately. He will be on tomorrow with some more exciting news to come tomorrow. This channel's going up, and it's going up fast. So Xavier will be on tomorrow. I'll get him down to break down Eric Fisher because he's a lineman at heart. He knows how to break it down properly. I'm going to talk a bit about him, what I know of him, what I've seen of his stats. Also going to be talking about Minicamp because apparently that's going extremely well, which is good to know. Quitty Pay is in attack mode, as they've been saying. So let's get into it. Feel free to leave comments. It's fun to chat to people other than just myself. So let's start with Eric Fisher. 1 year deal around the area of 9.3, 9.4 million, which is a bargain for a Hall of Famer, left tackle talent. He's basically a replacement for Anthony Costanzo in every possible way. He's probably even a little bit better than Anthony Costanzo. So I'm going to run through his stats. He's a former number 1 overall pick, I believe. Not often you see that an offensive tackle go that high. I'll just double check that one, Eric. Yeah, former number 1 overall pick, which is good to know. So going through his stats, for a guy who's been in the league, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, 48 penalties, equivalating to 329 yards, 24 false starts, 13 holding, and 44 sacks. That's, 2 years ago, he only gave up 1 sack. Last year, or the year before, I'm not sure. Last year, last year he only gave up 3 sacks. The guy's a stud, and for less than 10 million, we're getting a left tackle for bargain price. Especially now you look at the rest of our offensive line, which is extremely talented in the sense that we have Quentin Nelson, Eric Fisher, Braden Smith, and Golinski. Carson Wentz has absolutely nothing to worry about at all. He can stay in the pocket, and that's something he couldn't do in Philly. But he could stay in the pocket, but because of Carson Wentz's mobility, he can also move out and run about and get in and out. So we didn't want to spend left tackle price this year. And that was quite obvious. For me, the 9 mil is fair price, but it's also saying, Eric Fisher probably could have got more somewhere else, which means he believes the Colts are a Super Bowl team. And with us, the excellent draft that we had, and, things are just starting to take shape now. And I know it's way too early to say it, but this is a scary team. No gaps on offense. 1 or 2 small gaps on defense. Obviously, people like Rocky Sin didn't have a great year. The safety situation is a bit of a strange one. So that's interesting to see what happens there. So moving on to Minicamp. Let me just get my writing up here. So the news coming out from Minicamp is that the rookies are impressing, and not just our first round pick. Every rookie is impressing, apparently. So, that's something I've not heard in a long time. You always hear one or two, yeah, they're really good. Other ones, yeah, they need more work. But at the minute, everything just seems to be falling in place. And that's very strange hearing that. Very strange hearing that being a Colts fan, because something always seems to go wrong. So fingers crossed. And it is only minicamp, so obviously things were being tested. People are not running at 100%. Quitty pays living life. Deo, God, I'm going to murder his last name. But Deo is just trying to get back into fitness. But, for the injuries he's had, he's blowing people away on the field. 7th round pick Mike Strachan. The coach is saying he really wants to be there. He's looking forward. He's not bothered that he's a 7th rounder. He's really putting in the graft. Rookie minicamp has gone well. Let's hope this translates. Obviously, a long way to go, and a lot of competition at stake. That's what you want in the preseason. You don't want a team that has no competition, because come season start, you are going to be knackered and you're not going to be up to game pace. So, yeah, you want to be at your best when the season comes. And if that means you have to sit behind someone for a year to get better, then you have to sit behind someone for a year. And I believe that's what Chris Ballard, Frank Wright believe in is, just because Carson Wentz was the blockbuster trade, I don't think that job's sold as his. If he doesn't come out if he comes out week 1 to 5, and we are not in the position we want to be, Chris Ballard is not scared to make a change. We've seen it before when he got rid of Eric Ebron. I know a lot of people question that. Obviously, Ebron had his drops, but he was also a very good tight end. So when Chris Ballard said, "We're not giving you the money because you don't deserve it," and he had a hissy fit, Chris Ballard went, "Okay, then see you later." And that's just about building that culture that a team should have. And I'm just happy to be a Colts fan at the minute. I'm also an Arsenal soccer fan, so something to cheer me up is being an Indianapolis Colts fan. Quick talk about free agents, because it's always interesting. We signed 5 undrafted free agents last week ahead of rookie minicamp, which were wide receiver Tariq Black, linebacker Anthony Butler, running back Deion Jackson, linebacker Isaiah Kafusi, and wide receiver Tyler Vaughns. They obviously know it's going to be hard to make this roster, especially the wide receivers. The linebackers stand a bit more of a chance, obviously, with Anthony Walker going to the Browns. A bit gutting, Walker and Leonard have that balance, that cohesion, shall we say. They're a great team, guys. They're great buddies. So it was a bit gutting, but it was the right time for him to go because we couldn't afford to pay him what he wanted. It's just looking good to be a Colts fan. Last year I was extremely impressed with Xavier Rhodes, someone who, believe it or not, I was doubting the signing, maybe in the same way a lot of people are doubting the Carson Wentz signings in, because all I was getting from Vikings fans was that he's dead, he's burnt, all that jazz, he's not good anymore, and that is all I was getting. So it's really exciting to see him come back. That was the most important re-signing for us. T.Y. Hilton was obviously an important re-signing for nostalgia value, and he's a great leader. The internet pressure was sort of the one that got outside, which is excellent because we want TY to get 10,000 yards, because then we'll become the first ever franchise to have three different players over 10,000 yards receiving, which is fantastic to be a fantastic time again. That's really all. I mean, some of it wasn't up-to-date news. It was just talking about signings and stuff. Now I'm going to go on to something a little bit more chill. I'm going to talk about my favourite players for the Colts and why they're my favourite players, bar obviously Peyton Manning. I'm not going to go on about Peyton Manning. Everyone knows why Peyton Manning is the mayor or the sheriff of Indianapolis. So let's start with probably the first player who I ever took note of in a Colts shirt, which was Joseph Adai. Big what if, hey, right? Because that season we won the Super Bowl, he was phenomenal. Quick first step, he could cut like it was no man's business. And yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here right now because I wouldn't be a Colts fan. Who else? Bob Sanders as well. I see Bob Sanders and I watch Julian Blackmon, and is Julian Blackmon talented? What a rookie season he had. Just what, a lot of people talk about last season. It was a bit disappointed the way it ended. Didn't want it to end the way it did, obviously, losing to the Bills like that when we should have beat them. Just questionable coaching choices that saw us out of the game, unfortunately. But it was a good season. We had a quarterback who was probably more mobile in a wheelchair than he was on two legs. So to still make something out of that team that was also injury plagued is fantastic. I mean, we've got a guy coming back, Paris Campbell, hopefully praying he can stay fit. He's coming back wearing the number 1, which is excellent. Previously, Pat's number. But I think Pat McAfee even loved someone having that number 1 shirt because this is a make or break year for Paris Campbell, right? Because if he gets injured again, he won't be in a Colts shirt next season. I guarantee you that, because we can't keep affording to keep him around for one game at the start of the season and then he get injured. It's just bad business. So he really needs a breakout season. Go through people's positions who are at stake, shall we say, not at stake, but who are at risk of not being here at the end of next season. Rock Ya-Sin, obviously he struggled in his second year. Chris Ballard seems to really like him. So I think that bodes well for him, but we need to see some improvement. A couple of years now, and we've not seen the curve, right? So every player has a learning curve, and Patrick Mahomes type players, their learning curve is that, and then the development curve is up. Someone like Quentin Nelson just goes up like that, and then you have players who learn like that and develop like that, so they're a bit slower. Rock Ya-Sin's sort of just gone nice and straight, and then he's gone a little bit down. He really needs to get his act together, because he was being targeted, and especially in Eberflus's scheme, everyone knows who watches the show regularly and who has watched the show. Get my words out there. Who has watched the show knows I'm not Eberflus's biggest fan. I believe we have such a dogged defense to say, we have such an aggressive defensive players and we don't use them. You look at the rushers, we have Leonard, Blackmon, Kyrie Willis. DeForest Buckner, Grover Stewart, who had a monster year. I'm excited to watch him next year. We need to use these guys more. And when you have a system that relies on the front four getting pressure so much, you could be the best cornerback in the league, but you can't cover, a wide receiver for 30 seconds. At some point, you are going to go the wrong way or make the wrong move. So, for me, Matt Eberflus needs to be a bit more aggressive with the defense we have, especially now getting Quitty Pay. You look at imagine a front four. We could still resign Justin Houston. Will we resign him? I don't know, because it'll all be down to Justin Houston taking more of a player/coaching contract, I think. So it'd be a lot less pay, but he might be guaranteed a coaching position after this season ends, which could be the best deal for him. I mean, you've seen if he can get a proper contract out there in free agency, which fair play to him. Go and get your money. I'd love to see him back as a player coach, because if he could be that player that came in third downs or late game fourth downs or goal line, because he's a fantastic run stopper. A front four of Quitty Pay, DeForest Buckner, Justin Houston, and Grover Stewart. Wow. It's one of the best in the league. And it will be one of the best in the league. I got sidetracked a little bit there. But yeah, so Rock Ya-Sin, he's probably at his position is really at stake. I'm surprised we didn't take a cornerback higher. But, I trust in Chris Ballard. This guy, people forget Chris Ballard's a guy who is responsible for drafting Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and Nicole Hardman for the Chiefs. So I trust in Ballard. Who else? Obviously, Justin Houston's at risk. We don't want to lose him from he's a nice guy. He's done a lot for Indy. And maybe not last season, but the season before, he was a massive shake-up on that defensive line. In reality, I've been struggling for a while. So I'd like to keep Houston, but he's at risk. That defensive line room, defensive tackle, the defensive end room is really an unknown bag at the minute, because you got young guys there, you got guys who have been there a couple of years. It's tough competition, but I think we might go into the season defensive line heavy. I know Chris Ballard stressed that he really wants a good rotation. He doesn't just want 4 starters, he wants 8 starters. It's going to be really hard trying to find 8 guys who want to share snaps. Okay, because you go through the whole system wanting to be the best at your position. That's how you get into the NFL. You don't get into the NFL by wanting to share snaps and wanting to be a team guy. Everyone wants to be the number 1 overall pick. So it's going to be hard, but if anyone can do it, it'd be Chris Ballard. Other people at stake, Zach Pascal, unfortunately, his position's at stake. I think he's a great wide receiver. He had an amazing year. He stepped up massively last year when T.Y. Hilton was out of it. So he's at stake. I want him to stay. Trey Burton, I don't think he'll be around for much longer. To be honest, he was sort of just a shirt filler last season for me. He didn't really offer anything that I know he's capable of offering. I think Mo Alley-Cox is safe for the time being. He quickly became Phillip Rivers' favourite target. So I don't think he's at stake. Especially with us, we signed the tight end, Granson, who is an explosive player. I've actually been doing a lot of research on him. And I'd just recommend to people watching, just go out and watch him, see what you think of him. But I think he's really explosive, and he could have flew under a few teams' radars here. So I hope he's in the squad next year. We might keep him around in the practice squad. But yeah, he's someone who could really add to, he's that third tight end in a game of a lot of teams like to run 3 tight ends. We love to do it. So he's in the game between, he's not as good as Jack Delorme or Willie Cox, but he definitely can be. Someone else who's at risk is last year's draft quarterback, Jacob Eason. I really wasn't expecting us to draft a quarterback in the draft this year. For some reason we did. Maybe it was just best player available at the time. What was our quarterback draft? 4th round, I think. Let me just check. I completely. 6th rounder. We took Jacob Eason in the 4th. We took Sam Erlinger, I hope I pronounced that right, in the 6th. So I really don't get that pick. If someone could explain that to me, who knows a bit more in-depth in and outs of football, then please do. But I really don't get that pick. Because all the stories coming out of, Eason's camp is that he's been fantastic. And he's had the pressure, of not having to be backup QB. So, and, at the end of the season, he said he was ready to come and lead this team if he had to. So to see us draft a quarterback, I don't know, has Chris Ballard seen something he doesn't like in him? Good evening, Mikey. Loyal viewer, Mikey. Nice to see you, bud. I'm very interested in seeing Mike Strachan feature as much. I knew zero about him before the draft, but looks like a monster, albeit D2 college ball. Mike Strachan, yes, I did have notes on him. Yes, wide receiver. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, interesting pickup. Obviously, everyone thought our wide receiver core was solidified, if that's the right word, was set, especially when we re-signed T.Y. Hilton. And I think Mike Strachan is a project, along with Desmond Patton, who's Mike Pittman. Mike Pittman is definitely wide receiver 1 of the future. That's just facts. He is an animal. And to think we got him in the 2nd round, Chris Ballard magic again. Strachan, yeah, albeit D2 college ball. But, that doesn't really mean anything. Maybe 10 years ago, being in D2 did mean a lot of difference. Obviously, the top colleges, what we tend to get on TV over here is the Big Ten, because it's the money games. But D2 college now is probably just as talented as D1. In sports, gaps keep getting smaller and smaller. It becomes harder and harder. Teams get better and better. Players get more athletic. You look at linemen now, offensive linemen, look at Quentin Nelson. He's not just a big fat lump who people can't move. He's very agile, he's very strong, and he's very fast. So I just want to have a look. I forgot what I was going to look for then. But yeah, it's a bit like, soccer, the Premier League and the Championship. Okay, the Championship teams are not going to go out and beat Premier League teams all the time, but they are getting better, and it's now something they don't take lightly. And I think that's the same with D2 college ball and D1 or whatever you want to call it. Is that, yeah, D2 college teams are not going to go out and beat your Ohio States, your Texas, all them big college teams, to say. But they will win eventually, and they will start beating teams, and it gets harder and they're not to be taken lightly. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. I think he'll be a red shirt, unfortunately, but maybe a special teamer. We know. So this is what the Colts do well, right? You look at lots of other teams, and you know they like to say, "Oh, we take special teams seriously," but they don't. It's just saying the right things. What the Colts do well is if your attitude sucks, and you don't want to play special teams, you won't be seen in the team. I can guarantee you that you will not be seen in the team. Past that. So yeah, night tracking. Yeah, interesting. I just lost a page I had up, which had my draft picks on. Round 7, offensive tackle, we picked up Will Fry. You know, Chris Ballard doesn't just draft for next year. Fortunately, he drafts for 3 years. And that's what any self-respecting GM will do. They will draft for 3 years down the line. You know, I just think Colts fans, we should be excited because we're going to be a good team. But we're not going to have a low first-round draft pick for a while. So we might be able to sleep through a couple of first-round nights and get up early for work. Yeah, I mean, just catching my breath. I feel like I could talk really quickly then. Yeah, so I did mention them briefly. You know, players who got me liking the Colts, and not just Peyton Manning. So I will talk about that a bit later. I'm going to talk about Bob Sanders and Joseph Adai because they're my two of my all-time favorite players. My favorite squad player at the minute, like guy wearing a shirt, has to be Kyrie Willis. I think that guy is phenomenal. One sec. Yeah, I don't know what it is about him, but I think this guy is a talent, and you know he's only 25, so this year should be, you know, at the start of his prime. He's just going to get better. He's just fantastic to watch. I hope he gets utilised properly. In a very close second, maybe even a joint first. I've tried finding a signed shirt of his everywhere, but it is hard to find a signed shirt of his everywhere. Well, for a good price. Is Kenny Moore. Kenny Moore, officially Kenny Moore II. He is, what a player. I mean, that one-handed interception on, I believe it was Darren Waller. Let me just double check. Let me just check. 1 second. Yeah, on Darren Waller. I thought it was. I just have to double check. But who is like twice the size of him, and he just plucks it out of the air. I'll be really interested. It'll be really interesting how Matty Eberflus is going to run our defense next year. He has to change his system because it didn't work last year. A very good offense run in the second half of the season rescued us last year because we were stuttering hard. So he has to change it up. My guess would be more of a Chuck Pagano system. Okay, the Colt fans will know Chuck Pagano and the Colts it didn't work out. Chuck's a nice guy. He didn't have the experience to be a fully, it was a defensive coach who had one of the best quarterbacks in the league. It just wasn't working. It didn't work. It didn't match. It didn't fit. But his actual defensive scheme, sort of the double A gap blitz, works fantastically well when executed well. And I think we need to use that scheme with Kyrie Willis, Kenny Moore, Julian Blackman, these small, undersized guys to say. But what that means is they can really hide the blitz and they can really blitz in under the radar. And we need to come out fast. We come out pretty slow last year. So for me, Carson Wentz, it will help having fans in the stadium, but he needs a good start. If he doesn't get a good start, the pressure's going to pile on for him, unfortunately. So, just to close out the show, this was only going to be a chill stream because I'm by myself, so I'm not going to talk for ages. I'm going to talk about two of my favourite players, and that the first one I'm going to talk about is probably the hardest hitting. Sorry, just one sec. So my computer's just froze. There we go. This stopped freezing now. Was the hardest hitting safety in the league of his time. And the only question is why couldn't he stayed fitter? Because if he stayed fit, there'd be no question that he's one of the best safeties of all time. And that is Bob Sanders. Come on, man. The guy is an absolute monster of a player. He's just... Honestly, when he tackled someone, you'd feel it all the way over in the UK. But just to give you a quick run through of what he's done for Indianapolis, I know he played San Diego a little bit, but just 1 second. It's such a shame he couldn't stay fit because, so one of his best season was probably 2007. 15 games, 96 combined tackles, 3.5 sacks, 32 interceptions, and 1 fumble. He was just a human highlight reel. 2007, Defensive Player of the Year. Obviously, Super Bowl winner. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowl, 2005, 2007. 2-time first team All-Pro. NFL Defensive Player of the Year. And 3-time All Big Ten coming through college. Total tackles 307, sacks 3.5, He's not going to get many sacks. He's a safety, but he still did. 2 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries, 6 interceptions, and 1 defensive touchdown. That's just phenomenal. He's only 5'8" as well. The guy's tiny, but he was a fantastic player. Played with heart. He played everything what the Colts culture is now. It was just a real shame he couldn't stay fit. But yeah, because of him, I'm a Colts fan. And the last player I'm going to talk about, this is the guy who made me a Colts fan, is, he's the running back of the Super Bowl run. He was phenomenal. And again, it's just another question of if he didn't get that career-ending injury, we'd still be talking about him now. But that's Joseph Adai. What can I say about this guy? So, how many years did he play overall? So he played 5 years with the Colts and 1 year with the Patriots. But I don't think that was much to worry about, to be honest. I don't think that was much for him. Off-season, I see he was only an off-season practice squad member. He's 440, 40-yard dash. Even in the bench press, 18 reps. So he got 1,000 yards in 2006, 1,000 yards in 2007, 7 touchdowns 2006, 12 2007. He was just, unfortunately, injury did sort of hamper his career. But, just watching him play is fantastic. His first cut made people look silly. First round pick, 30th pick in the first round pick in the first round of the draft. Well, yeah, I'm struggling now. But yeah, his career starts 4,500 rushing yards. That's an average of 4.1. Rushing touchdowns, 39. Receptions, 191. Receiving yards, over 1,500 receiving yards and 9 receiving touchdowns. You could argue he was at early years of the hybrid running back that we see now with like Nyheim Hines. So, yeah, if it wasn't for Joseph Adai, I wouldn't be a Colts fan. Well, I probably would because of Peyton Manning, but he was the main guy that sold it for me. Yeah, that was just a little feature to end off the show because it's been 40 minutes now. And I've been talking Colts for a lot of it. For all of it. Coming tomorrow is a big show tomorrow. So that's going to be 10 p.m. GMT because we've got a big guest coming on. And I'll be excited once it's announced. I can't let you know who for now, just to keep you interested that little bit. But yeah, I'll be interested. Doing something we don't usually do over at UK Colts Fans is streaming on a Tuesday night. Like I said, the channel's going up. We're getting more and more viewers as the day goes by, which is nice. So just keep watching if you like it. Let me know if you don't like it. Tell me what to change. But yeah, thanks so much for everyone for watching. This has been UK Colts Fans podcast, another episode, and a very interesting show tomorrow. Goodbye.